I wanted to make this video to quickly address a lot of the talk that's been going on online, specifically about things like, are we currently seeing the downfall of AI agencies? Is this entire AI revolution turning out to be one big fab? Is it all fake? Should we keep buying into the hype? Things like that. Okay, so I want to address specifically the certain points that people are making, and give a realistic, non-biased analysis on the current situation, the current state of this entire revolution. Okay, and what the path looks like moving forward. Okay, so let's dive straight into it. And so there's been a good amount of hysteria and skepticism online about the entire AI explosion that's occurred over the past few years, and many people are calling it one big fab or a big bubble that's about to burst. Okay, and the main reason why is because they're seeing a lot of these articles, a lot of these reports from the top AI companies about certain situations within these companies and what these people are saying, the CEOs, the executives of these companies. Okay, so for example, we have the deal that Oracle made with OpenAI. At first, it was worth an astonishing $300 billion, and now they're reporting that it's underwater and the deal's minus $74 billion. Okay, that's one of them. Another thing is, for example, MIT reporting that 95% of all generative AI pilots companies are failing. People are tweeting that we're in this huge big AI bubble that's now 17 times bigger than the dot-com bubble, and it's about to burst. And there's reports saying that Sam Altman sees an AI bubble forming. So there's a bunch of stuff that's coming out. Okay, and so the whole point of this video is to ask this question as to, was the AI hype all fake, and is this the beginning of the end for the AI revolution, or should we keep buying into the hype of the AI revolution? Okay, so what is going on? Okay, and rightfully so, people are asking these questions because there's a ton of reports coming out, and you really can't trust what people are saying. Each CEO that gives their perspective on this entire revolution, you have to understand that mostly 90% of everything that comes out of their mouth is to somehow benefit their own company. Okay, to create a narrative that's somehow going to end up benefiting their own company. And so you really have to trust the reliability of these sources and what these reports are saying. Okay, and I just wanted to put that as a precursor to this video. And so the first concept I want to introduce to you is something called the AI hype cycle. Okay, and what the AI hype cycle is, it's basically a timeline that shows you exactly, what's the timeline that most of these large revolutions, these large technological revolutions, they go through. Okay, what are the 5 different phases that each technological revolution goes through? And luckily we have history. We can look at the past technological revolutions, and we can see what happened with previous ones like smartphones and the internet. Okay, and so the hype cycle, like I said, is 5 phases. The first phase is the innovation trigger. The second phase is the peak of inflated expectations. The third phase is trough of disillusionment. The fourth phase is the slope of enlightenment. And the last phase is the plateau of productivity. Okay, and so where are we currently at with this AI revolution? Well, we're currently in phase 3, okay, the trough of disillusionment. Okay, and so similar to the dot-com bubble, the technology at the center of this revolution, which is currently AI, has real economic use cases that will provide tremendous value as it keeps improving. But there are many startups that don't provide any tangible value, and they just slap AI on the product. Okay, and these will be the startups that die. Okay, and so like I said, there's a lot of hype that's associated with AI right now. There's a lot of status perceived with it if you're selling AI. Okay, a lot of status associated with AI. And so what a lot of these startups will do, since they want to partake in this huge revolution, this huge thing that's happening, instead of actually putting in the upfront effort to develop real AI features or real AI tools that's going to provide real value to their market, they sort of just slap it on there as some sort of, really it's a useless thing that doesn't do anything, but they'll just sort of slap it on there for marketing so they can be perceived as an AI startup who's, one of the builders of this large revolution, okay? And those are the startups that will die. Those are the startups and companies and even agencies. If you're an agency who's doing that and you're not providing real value, you're not really identifying your market's problems and trying to reverse engineer the mechanisms and AI tools from there to provide real value to them so they get closer to their desired outcome, you will not survive, okay? Because you're just going to be another person, another fab who's partaking in this revolution, giving it a bad name that won't actually deliver results. You have to always keep in mind the only reason why businesses exist is to help solve a problem and get people to a specific outcome, okay? And so if you're not doing that, really you're scamming people. Okay, so building a company during stage 1 and 2 is like building a tower on a quicksand foundation. Okay, it's not sustainable. And so kind of to put it in perspective for you, in stage 1, the innovation trigger, we had that ChatGPT moment that happened around 2021, 2022, around that time. And from there, ever since then, it's been a roller coaster straight to the top of the mountain, all this hype building up. And eventually we reach stage 2, which is the peak of inflated expectations. And so during this stage, people were saying crazy stuff like, in 2 to 3 years, there's going to be no work left left for humans to do. AI is going to replace all humans. Humans are going to be useless. How are humans going to find meaning? All this non-productive, crazy, scaremongering was happening, and really it was just this cloud of nothingness, the confusion. Okay, and it was not productive, and it really just distracted people from the main goal, which is how to use this technology to provide value to the economy. Okay, and what are the real use cases that are going to sustain us long term? Okay, and so the best time to build a company is during the slope of enlightenment, which is stage 3. Okay, the stage right after the one which we're currently in, which is this trough of disillusionment. And the reason for that is because there's predictable growth, there's realistic optimism, and sustainable value creation. Like I said, building a company during stage 1 and 2, it's not sustainable. Okay, you're building it on all this hype, and this is where you'd see, people literally just put AI, in the name of their business or in their product, and they'd get these crazy valuations, all this money thrown at them, but it's not sustainable. Okay, and that's how a bubble gets formed, and that's how people end up in an economic depression. Okay, in an economic crisis. Okay, and so you really do want to be careful of that, because it does have the illusion of as people are making a lot of money, but it's not sustainable, and it ends up imploding. Okay, which is obviously we want to avoid that. So the best time to build a company is during the slope of enlightenment. Okay, for these main reasons. And so we're currently transitioning into the slope of enlightenment. So how do you go about building an AI service business in this new transitionary period? Okay, and the main underlying thing that you always have to remember, this is the foundation that your business has to be built upon, which is you actually have to provide real value. You cannot just slap AI onto whatever you're selling and expect all the money to be thrown your way. At the same time, I don't expect you to be a developer who, spends weeks or months learning how to code, how to, learn how to do every Zapier automation, every AI tool. You have to find a balance, and you have to identify your market's problems and reverse engineer from the problems to the mechanisms that you're going to implement to help them go from their current to their desired situation. And from there, you need to validate that offer, acquire capital by selling people on your offer, and then allocate that capital towards outsourcing to people who can build these systems, who've spent their entire life building these systems to do it for you. Okay, and so yes, putting AI in your offer does make it more desirable, but simply selling one AI tool or mechanism is not enough. You need to choose a winning market and solve all the problems in between your market's current and the desired situation. And I speak to a lot of AI founders on a daily basis. If you think that just by selling one voice dialer or implementing one simple tool into your client's business is going to make you rich, it's not. People who are on these freelancing websites who are selling their time for money, in third world countries, $1 an hour, $20 an hour, building these exact same tools that you're building. Okay, and so if you're not really providing value, then you're competing on price, and when you're competing on price, that's a race to the bottom. You will never achieve freedom by competing on price. So you need to compete on value, and the only way to participate in the game of value is by providing more than anyone else. And the way you provide more than anyone else is by first of all, choosing a good market, and then identifying the problems that your market faces that's stopping them from reaching their desired situation, and implementing every mechanism to make it inevitable for your market to reach the desired situation. So, that's I kind of went off on a tangent there, but don't think that by slapping AI on your offer or selling one tool is going to make you rich, because then you're just playing the half-ass game, the low barrier to entry game that everyone's playing, and it's filled with competition, and now you're stuck in a cesspool of people who are selling the same exact thing as you, and you guys are competing on price. Okay, that's not the game you want to play. Trust me, play the higher barrier to entry games. It might be harder up front to create a good offer and to actually spend time researching what problems your market faces and what you need to implement to solve those problems. But in the long term, down the line, it's going to be much easier for you to scale, because there's less competition. Everyone else is lazy. They don't want to put in that work up front. It's going to be much easier for you to scale down the line, because there's no one to compete with you. Okay, and so you might just once again make sure solving all the problems in between your market's current and their desired situation. If you want to know exactly, if you want the exact playbook on how to scale and come up with a hypothesis and create an offer around it and validate it and scale an offer, then you can join the first link in the description, AI Scaling Specialist Community. I can send you over our 3-step scaling playbook completely for free. If that's something you're interested in, first link in the description. Just like with every other trendy business, competition and sophistication will increase. It's inevitable. Doesn't matter how good the opportunity opportunity is, doesn't matter how good the business model is, the competition will always increase, and the sophistication levels of the market will inevitably increase. Okay, it's just life. And so only the people who focus on delivering real value will remain. Okay, so don't be one of these people who just slaps it on their offer expecting to become rich. Okay, you need to put in the upfront effort and research what market you're going to be targeting and what are the problems you're going to be solving and how are you going to solve those problems and create leverage around it. Okay, so I know I kind of spewed a lot of information in this video. If you want more information and more insights, if you want direct access to me, like I said, first link in the description, AI Scaling Specialist School Community. We just hit 1,000 members in there, so lots of exciting stuff coming in there. If you want our free scaling playbook, I can send it over to you in our community. All my flowcharts are in there. This flowchart's going to be in there. I believe it's over 80 flowcharts now. All the YouTube videos I've done. So if that's something you're interested in, first link in the description. It's completely for free, and I'll see you on the inside. Bye.